Alright, so here's like part 3 of the fuel system. This is the true hat that I'm putting in the car. It's a twin 485 liter per hour pump hat. And so here are the two girls plugged in, ready to rock and roll. It has the room for a third pump here, which I am not going to do. I'm just good with 2. My car's not going to make that much power. They supply you with the 10 AN feed, which is reduced down to a -8 on this, and then a 6 return. And this just installs just like stock in the stock location there. You do have to install the fuel level sender, so I'm going to put that on, and I will kind of show you how to do that. It goes on the back side here, and then I'm going to stuff this in the car and get her ready to go in. Alright, so first thing, there's a 2 head connector plug right there. You can remove the one side with the 2 purple wires on it. This has your fuel level sender attached to it, so I unplugged it. There is a little locking clip or tab right in there. Sorry, it's a little blurry, hard to see. You're going to depress that in with a little flathead screwdriver, and then this piece is going to just slide down just like it would slide into this groove here on this. So as you can see, there's that. So with that free, here's your fuel level sender, free and clear. And then you will just transfer it over to here like so. The little tab that you had to depress will now, come on, move out of the way, will now lock in or sit up top here. So you want to make sure you don't bend this or do anything crazy too much, otherwise this thing is not going to lock into the fuel hat itself. You'll have a loose fuel level sender. So that part's done. Again, when you go to put this in, you got to just be careful. You don't want to bend this, because then your gauge becomes super inaccurate, or it won't work at all. You might damage it. These are the 2 wires for the fuel level sender. To my knowledge, it doesn't matter which one does what. It's not going to read opposite if you hook one to the wrong side or something like that. So I'm just going to de-pin this connector, or just cut these wires and then put the opposite ends. Helps to have stuff from like Amazon, for example. See, so I don't put anything away. It's right here. You can buy a kit like this for not too much money, a couple bucks. And this is all you need, is these 2. They'll just go right in there like so. Done. Crimp the wire, call it a day. So I'm going to install those right now and hook up the fuel level sender. Alright, so there's my little fuel pump connections for the fuel level sender. I'm going to drop this in. You're going to want to dump the level sender in first. I know Lethal's instructions say to disconnect this from the housing with all those little quick clips there, and then stuff it in, but I'm just going to walk it in nice and slow, rotate it, and make it all work. The saddle tank transfer pump hooks up right there, so I'm just going to plug that up in there, make sure it snaps in nice, and then walk this in. Unfortunately, I can't show you because I need both hands, but as you can imagine, it's going to be a tedious, painful little process here. Alright, so the hat is in, sort of. You want to make sure, I was able to get in with the fuel level sender on there. I don't know what the problem is, but in the instructions, I'm doing it a different way. But the you got to make sure that transfer tube does not hit the fuel level sender, because it's like right where that is. I don't know why they would design that like that, but that's why it's a little bit more budget than, say, a 4 system or something. But anyways, you want to make sure that's that. The transfer tank line has to make sure you click in, or you have to make sure it clicks in, because I just pushed it on gently and it wasn't enough. It fell down. So you want to make sure it really clicks in. You hear a click, and then you put the plastic retaining clip back in for that transfer hose. Now from here, you want to make sure the gasket, which is this rubber green O-ring here, as shown, is sitting in the lip all the way around the tank in the proper spot. And then you can set this down, and then you can hammer this lock ring back in and call it a day. So I'm going to do that because I need both hands to do this. Alright, so the fuel hat is installed. The Division X, you kind of want it to be in the center, aiming towards the back seat. All the bolts will be aiming towards you. You could obviously rotate these fittings as needed because they're on a swivel. Excuse me. Now, you will stuff this thing back in, as I showed you guys before, kind of. You don't need to blast your floor open or cut it or do any of that kind of crap. Just give it a few light slams. Your children well behaved. Or do they need a few light slams every now and then? Again, she will sit flat. And then there's your lock ring deal. And now you are just going to put your I really need my other flathead screwdriver. Got to stop using tools for other stuff. But you're going to give this thing a few love taps. You're going to put this in here, like so, on the lip, and then just bang it with the hammer. Make sure the lock ring comes all the way around and seats in every single one of those spots. So I'm going to do that right now. Guys, I'm on like day 10 of this easy return style fuel system install, but sometimes this is how it goes with life. I bought this from Lethal Performance because I have their Division X fuel hat. This is their twin pump wiring kit, which I'm going to install on this girl. Power wires, relays, fuses, yada yada yada. Somewhat plug and play, a couple ground eyelets. So I'm going to hook that up next. I did have to buy from Amazon this DP tool lock ring. I just don't have a good screwdriver that's able to twist this thing in. You got to put pressure on it, so I'm standing on it with my foot. You know, it's a two-man job in some instances. So I bought this to hopefully circumvent my issue here. So it basically just, all right, I'm not out of breath, but locks into those spots right there. So it does one single arm there, and then twin on the back side. It grabs two spots. So it should twist and lock this thing in all the way. I'm very close, very close. As you can see, I just have a little bit left there. We're very close. So I'm gonna mess with that right now. Hopefully get this in and done and finished and out of my life. And then I can run the lines. I do recommend, if you have access to an air gun or air compressor, to blow this line out. Basically from the front to the back, or from here to the front. It'll spit some fuel out. It basically will get rid of some vapors you may have lingering for a little while if you do a hard acceleration or a hard turn. There's always a little bit left, you know, trapped in the line there, but that's it. So I'm going to twist lock this thing in and move on from there. All right, so next part of this install here, my hat is all secured. You're going to want to beat the edge of that down so you can put your piece back on, but I'm not doing it yet because I still have to wire this all in. Here's my -6 return lines. Jack the car up. I'm going to feed the line up from underneath, which will allow it to come through said hole here, and then I can hook it up to my smaller -6 connection. I'm going to run it under the car. Again, normally I would just run one full line up to the front just so they're seamless. He did give me a split line because he had a flex fuel sensor in it. I'm just going to use it. I bought a union fitting, so it's just 2 males, and that'll just connect it, and then I'm going to run it to the bottom of the regulator. So it's going to come out of this hole or port right here and then come up to the regulator, and then I can finish making my connections up here for the rest of it. Moving on here, we removed the factory hard line. That's also the evap line, is the bigger hard metal line. They're attached by 110mm. That's right there. So you snake it out through the top, bend it. You're going to have to bend it, but you can always bend it back if you want to save it. The fuel line does not detach from the evap line unless you cut the clamp or bend it open or pry it open. I don't need evap on this car, so I'm going to end up just cutting this big line right here with my pipe cutter or the die grinder just to get rid of it. It goes all the way to the back over the axle, and I'll just fish it out and get rid of it. Don't go crazy because those are your brake lines, so you don't want to pull on those or bend them or do anything stupid, and then you'll put your line holder, big ass thing right there, back up, and you'll be good to roll. So now, I don't want to sound like I'm out of shape. You know, I'm 30 whatever years old. I'm a little out of shape, but it's hot out. It's like 105. So spare me here, people. Okay. All right, so this is, again, for my return line. This is a 6 union, -6 male on both sides. I fed my -6 hose down in the hole. It goes down in there. You're going to have to twist the hose like one of these jobs. Oh, yeah. To get it to go down and out and in. And then here she is. So now, as you can see, this line is too short to reach up to the front. So I'm going to thread this -6 union in. You could use, you know, you really don't have to. You shouldn't have to be honest with you, is like run a, you know, thread locker or thread tape. You know, I would not if you don't have to. But sometimes you do. So you're going to thread this on. Eventually you'll tighten the beans out of this thing. And then I'm going to run my other 6 return hose, which is right there, from this all the way up to the regulator. So I'll show you where I snake that up and connect it and everything. Alright, so the nice thing about 6AN is it fits in the original placeholder here, which is cool. So here's my 6AN, here's where my union is. So now you can see both lines meet. Again, that's where he had a flex fuel sensor. I'm not running one of those because the front wide bands do that. on these cars, and then my hose goes up there, and that's it. That's your return line, plumbed, done. I have a 90 here right at the bottom of the regulator. You can see it right there, and that's that. So now I just have to do the 8 feed to the rail and then back to the tank there. So I'll do that on another day. It's so freaking hot out. I gotta go drop some stuff off and whatever else. Enjoy the rest of my weekend here. All right, so I re-engineered a little as I went. I used the 8 straight coming off the hat. Installed my own supplied fuel hose that I had here. As you can see, it's black braided instead of this. It's like a stiff PTFE with a plastic wrap over it. I prefer this hose much more. It's much easier to work with, much more forgiving. You can cut it, shorten it, and re-put a fitting on it again, whereas this one I feel is more one-time use. But I used one of the existing studs in the floor of the car to mount the filter, so I tightened that down. There is still, I'm going to put a self-tapper through the other hole there for the mounting bracket to go through the floor. I put the brake lines underneath it just so it keeps them tucked up to the frame of the car, or the body of the car I should say. This hose, I ended up doing it a little longer than I would like, so I have this stud right here, and I have some of those zip ties that slide over said stud and lock in, so I'll just run the hose a little bit, you know, sideways like that, and then it'll go up nice, and I'll have no problems. So I want to make sure, obviously, I have ample clearance, you know, in case I hit something in the road or whatever the case may be. I put my Dash 8 Quick Connect fuel line fitting on there. I'm going to run a straight off the regulator to a 90. I need another 90 to come off of the regulator here and then go down to my filter, and then I'll put a straight there. So I'm going to order some more fittings so I can button this up, but almost done. Alright, so I just finished whipping this return style fuel system up. So there's my feed to the rails. Again, you could probably find lower profile fittings than this. This is all just temporary for me. And I would probably recommend going with aftermarket rails on this Godzilla application in particular, just because of how it sticks up. You know, it wasn't made for a Mustang in mind. It was really for an F-250. So here's my feed coming from the tank right there, and then goes out to the rails. You can set your pressure here with this set screw and the nut, and you can keep your eye on it. You do not need to put vacuum reference to anything when it's naturally aspirated, only boosted, unless your tuner requests it for whatever reason. There's my return line. It's Dash 6, as you can see. I still have to tie this all up underneath the car, but the larger line is my feed, smaller is the return. Goes into my filter, the feed there, it's mounted, and then goes up inside the car. The other hose is hanging down there, my transcooler lines, but, and there she is, right to the tank. So now I just need to do the wiring install, bash that down back smooth and even so I can put my cover back over it. Again, we're going to do the wiring real quick, and she will be done. Check for leaks, and that should be it.